finally starting to get more details about the lunatic that went on a slashing spree at the AMC movie theaters targeting a group of young girls. And listen, it's absolutely crazy. It's sickening to me to think about the fact that we've had several crazy, insane crimes take place here in America over the past couple of weeks. But these news stories are being buried while the mainstream media focuses on tire marks on top of pride streets. Like they're painting pride murals all over the streets in various cities, and they're arresting people and hitting them with felonies for leaving tire marks, whether on purpose or an accident. Those are the news stories that are dominating the headlines. Meanwhile, we have trans lunatics like Jared Risa, who we're going to talk about once again today. This dude literally killed his roommate, which was an older fella, killed his roommate's 2 dogs, went to a movie theater, attacked a group of young girls, left that movie theater, went to a McDonald's, attacked multiple people at McDonald's, and then got into a chase with police, a high-speed chase, where he eventually crashes his car. This has all the makings. This is a very interesting story. But because Jared Risa happens to be a dude with she/her pronouns, they have covered this story up entirely. Most people don't, outside of the few people who watch my channel, I don't know, is there anyone else on YouTube talking about this? I don't know, but it's crazy to me that there's all of these other news stories that these true crime content creators, they focus on certain news stories for months and months on end. You're still talking about the Idaho 4. You're still talking about this case, that case. You're not helping anything. Meanwhile, they ignore stuff like this because they don't want the pushback. They don't want the pushback from people who are upset. Because you see, whenever you cover crimes committed by a certain group of people, and if those people are part of the alphabet mafia, if they're part of the LGBTQIA plus alliance, they want you to ignore their crimes. And if you talk about them, you get attacked online. And you know me, if you've been following my channel, I am no stranger to having groups of people attack me for my opinions, so I don't care. So with that being said, let's dive into more details about what happened with this trans lunatic. A shadow crept behind a young girl in a dimly lit movie theater before she felt a sudden poke in her back. And then she noticed blood running down her back. I was in shock, and I didn't realize what happened. The young victim of the unprovoked AMC slashing spree told police, according to documents obtained via a public records request. I turned my head to the left, and I saw all of them get stabbed. The suspect, Jared Risa, was laughing, just laughing at us, and he sounded like the Joker. Then after laughing in our faces and stabbing us, he ran out of the movie theater. In total, 4 girls between the ages of 9 and 17 were all slashed on May 25th in the Braintree Theater, which was the middle stop in Risa's alleged multi-state crime spree that included a homicide and a second unprovoked attack at a McDonald's. The 4 girls, whose names were redacted, individually spoke to officers from their hospital rooms. Each one described the excitement and innocence before they were stabbed. 3 sisters and a friend were all at the movies to see the movie If on May 25th. They bought popcorn. They bought nachos. One of the girls got Kit Kats, another Nerds Clusters, before they settled into their seats in theater number 2. They were early, so it was just the 4 of them in the theater alone. I had my right arm up on the handrest, and my chair was up. Then it all flashed before my eyes, one victim told police. He went so quickly and he sliced my arm wide open. Another girl said she saw out of the corner of her eye someone running, and then the same person started stabbing them, the report says. The person never said anything to them and ran out of the theater after slicing them, an officer wrote in his report. Each girl described a maniacal, creepy laugh and a smile along with similar descriptions of the suspect, which included long blonde hair, a thin frame, and a hat that covered his face. One girl said it happened so quickly that she didn't get a good look at him until he turned around and laughed in their faces. He had a smile on his face, one of the victims told police. His face was so animated, like a cartoon. He laughed like the Joker. After one of the victims who described seeing a shadow creep behind her told police, she repeatedly screamed, "What the F? Who the F are you? Who the F are you?" During the profanity explosion, she heard one of the girls crying and pleading with the group, "I want to go home. I just want to get out of here," an officer wrote in the report. The first police officer at the scene found the girls huddled in a storage room, where theater employees were doing their best to tend to their wounds. Their injuries were wrapped in gauze, and employees worked to stop the bleeding and called their parents. I observed one girl hugging and consoling her twin sister, the first responding officer wrote in his report. AMC employees were actively attempting to provide aid. EMS reached the scene and took over the medical emergencies. Family members rode with each of the girls in the ambulances. I felt dizzy and I wanted to sit down. A doctor and a police officer helped me and put me on a stretcher, one of the victims said. All the injuries were ultimately, luckily, non-life-threatening. One girl needed 20 stitches outside and 12 stitches inside to close a gash in her arm that was about 3 inches long, more than an inch wide. Other trauma was also noted in the reports. Now, did you hear the horror? The trauma that these 4 young girls went through? At this point, I have to look at you, America. And of course, I'm not necessarily talking about the people in my audience, but I'm looking at you, America. When is enough going to be enough? Why are we allowing our young kids, more specifically, mainly young girls, why are we allowing them to be victimized by a bunch of dudes that have decided over the past couple of years that now they want to be women? We are told that we have to ignore the obvious fact that these people are mentally ill so we can coddle to their needs and feelings. All the while, constantly, every couple of days, every couple of weeks, there's a new story about how one of these mentally deranged weirdos go on some type of attack targeting women or targeting young kids. How long do we have to put up with this before people put their foot down? You see me, my foot has been put down long ago. I'm one of the only people in this corner of the internet. I know there are other people calling this out, but in the corner of the internet I'm in, I'm one of the only people willing to put my foot down and call this stuff out. Regardless if YouTube or any of these social media platforms like it or not. But at some point, we got to put an end to this. We've allowed these weirdos to play their little games. We allow them for 1 month out of the year, we allow them to dangle their diddles in front of little kids in the street. Drag queens reading books to the little kids. When is enough going to be enough? When are we going to stop worrying about being judged, and when are we going to start worrying about our kids and what is being done to them? Because our kids are being targeted. They're being indoctrinated, they're being brainwashed, and they're being attacked. And there's also a lot of weird sexual stuff being done to these kids as well, all from these people. So when I read these details, it becomes even more frustrating to me, like I said earlier, that we have stories like this that need to be talked about. But stories like this are put on the back burner, they're shoved under the rug, so we can sit here and talk about freaking tire marks on a street. These little girls will be traumatized for the rest of their life, but no, we don't need to have a conversation about that. Let's all cry and worry about the tire marks on the Pride mural in the middle of the street. These people hate you. They hate everything about you. These men who want to be women, they hate women. Most of them aren't even gay. Most of them are just upset that women have never been attracted to them. So then they try to become women, and then they try to attack women because they know they can never be a real woman. And in this situation, these 4 young girls, they all described they all described Jared Risa the same way. That after slashing them, stabbing them, whatever, before he leaves, he looks in their face, smiles really wide, a wide smile all across his face, laughing maniacally, like a comic book villain. And that's what these people are doing 24/7. You might not get to see the maniacal grin. You might not get to hear the laugh, but they're laughing in our faces. They're laughing in our faces as they bury stories like this one and make stories like the skid marks left on the Pride mural the most important, most talked about news story in America. They're smiling and laughing at us. Laughing that some people are still so afraid to call this stuff out, even though it's gotten to ridiculous levels. And when we got 4 young girls who are getting sliced and stabbed and shanked in a movie theater as they try to eat nerdy gum clusters, all because we refuse to acknowledge that these men pretending to be women are mentally deranged weirdos, that's when things get too far. Things have gone way too far. And I'm noticing a swing. I'm noticing that people are starting to wake up, and I think people are starting to get fed up. And they need to get fed up a little more quicker. Because the quicker you all get fed up with this nonsense and we can put this bullshit to an end, the sooner we can make sure that stuff like this isn't happening to other young girls who are trying to go to the movie theater. And stuff like this isn't happening to other McDonald's workers who are just trying to do their job. But with all that being said, this is not the last we've heard of this story. I will keep this story alive, and I will be talking about it again soon. So go ahead and ring that notification bell so you can be notified of when I upload that video. Hit the like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, share this video far and wide because social media platforms are trying to shut down this story. And with all of that being said, I'll talk to you all soon in the next one.